Joshua St. Clair, is, he's actually about to go into his final year. He's a MA Design Products. He says, like Mr. Abloh, he is a trained architect, has additional interest in menswear and branding, and he is an American in Paris. So Joshua St. Clair, when you're ready, please come up. He's just here. Joshua, can you put your mic on?
Hello. Okay. Sorry, it froze there for a second. Mr. Abloh, talk to me about money. When you're pricing a good or service, how do you calculate the emotional value of the product? For example, my birthday is tomorrow, and I was looking at buying this sweater for myself, but it costs about a month's rent. I'm not saying it isn't worth 945 pounds, but can you talk to me about how we arrive to numbers like that as designers?
Yeah, I'll talk about it in two phases because it's super important. When I started my very first collection, it was called Pyrex, and I was making it, you know, from my basement. And I thought that I was like, this hoodie costs me X amount of dollars to make. It might cost me maybe like 30 bucks. And I decided that the cost to sell it was the value that it was. You know, I wanted to exist in a space that wasn't amongst my contemporaries. I didn't want to make $60 hoodies. I thought this hoodie was worth 200. And of course, I was just young. You know, I was like, how am I going to differentiate myself from the heap of other designers and brands? And what does this mean? You know, is this a hoodie that you just wear once and throw in the trash? Or is it something that is of value? And is there something that took me a while to arrive to it? And I only mention that story is because I was just true to myself and what I felt. But ultimately what I was saying was that me as like a young Black designer, I didn't want to be categorized as streetwear. You know, I didn't understand why my ideas couldn't exist when I was looking at a Ralph Lauren sweater that cost 900, or I was looking at a Gucci or Givenchy that I thought, I was like, this is me, I have to aspire to buy it. And ultimately, in my history, that aspiration and the understanding of value and the understanding of art gave me a non-surface sort of approach to sort of understanding how the outside world works. You know, like perception, value, quality. And then let me race to your end question. Is like that sweater there is, there's something that's happened in culture with the sort of the idea of price. You know, like when you see a Zara ad for like $11.95 for a sweater of the same sort of look, the ecosystems in which to make those things are vastly different. But we as a society look at a cost and associate as like, that's what it should be for everything. So there's sustainable methods. There's that sweater's made in Italy. It's made by like generations family. It's costly to make, plus the dyeing of it in that particular way and I'm an independent brand. So in order for me to do the same things as like a Gucci or a Balenciaga or Louis Vuitton for that matter, with a smaller team, with a lower minimum, if I want to make pieces like that, my operating costs are super much higher or way higher than a fashion house of comparable size. So all those things factor into final cost. And, you know, my runway shows and all that jazz equates to it. So it's a complex, I hope it's not too confusing just to show the scale, but my career started with ambition. Like, if those things exist, I wanna put my ideas at that scale. I don't want to sell myself any short. And then it gets very practical as you get towards like supply chain and which factories you use.
It's kind of like we kind of had a pretty rough ride in the last 20 years of how we educate what value is. And so in clothing, this idea that, oh, it's too expensive, but actually what you've just stated is the value of that is what it is. And actually that's about craft and thinking and creativity. And these are interesting things that that's not just about how we educate the RCA. That's about a kind of global new kind of way that maybe this year has kind of shaken us some, if not a lot, and should do more, because I'm like up for the radical change, me, of us understanding, yeah, when we touch and we feel and we're being and we have so much complexity and so much importance in fashion. But yeah, yeah, it's a complex paradigm, I think.
Exactly, and it's like, for me, I battle with those things. My next Louis Vuitton collection, it's in the latest WWD article. I don't want to bore anyone with the semantics, but over COVID, over these 3 months, I figured out a way to change an ecosystem like Louis Vuitton, which is crazy luxury, but how we can sort of dispel the myth that just because it's the new season, it's more valuable than the season just before it.
Mm.
Like I'm fighting for sustainability, and I'm fighting for how we as a culture, sometimes it's not about the cost. It's about like, why does this feel more valuable because it's brand new? Because it's 3 months old, does it mean that it should be 60% off? And it's clothing, so it's like, I'm like, I hope my presentation bestowed, like, I'm not coming with the answers. I'm just coming with a million prototypes and investigations, and it's okay. You don't have to be like a perfect box to say that because I agreed with something 3 years ago, I have to agree with that today. I hope my practice shows that wide level of thinking says, hey, I'm investigating sustainability. Like on my website, if you go to Canary Yellow, I have $60 t-shirts, ironically, that are all made from plastic bottles. And, that was me sort of saying, hey, I'm doing Louis Vuitton, I'm doing Off-White, but I still have freedom. I'm going to find a way to make something that affordable that's made without reusing new fabrics. That's just as cool in my mind. And just so that my portfolio has all my investigations out there, and they're all finished. They're not like prototypes. It's like, that's a complete idea, and I feel fulfilled by it existing.
Great. Thank you, Jay. Great. So we're now going to get on to people.
Happy birthday, Jay. I'll send you that. Let's get Jay's info. I'll send him that sweater for his birthday.
Oh my God, he's about to fall off his chair.